What if Neytiri never saved Jake Sully? In Avatar, that single choice doesn't just change one man's life. It alters the destiny of Pandora and the Na'vi forever. For context, Jake Sully, a paraplegic Marine, takes his late brother's place in the Avatar program, piloting a Na'vi body to explore Pandora. He's inexperienced, reckless, and driven by orders from Colonel Quaritch to gather intelligence. One night, stranded in the forest, Jake faces certain death until Neytiri, the Na'vi's warrior princess, intervenes. Her act of compassion pulls him into Na'vi life, sparks their bond, and ultimately transforms him into Toruk Makto, the leader who unites the clans against human colonizers. But imagine Neytiri walking away. The Na'vi never meet Jake as anything more than a corpse. That single divergence reshapes the cultural, political, and even spiritual fabric of Pandora. If Neytiri doesn't intervene, Jake dies that night, torn apart by viper wolves before he ever learns a word of Na'vi or understands their spiritual connection to Eywa. Grace Augustine still has Norm Spellman, the model scientist, but Norm lacks Jake's dogged adaptability and military instincts. The Avatar program becomes weaker, and Quaritch loses his insider, but also avoids the risk of a soldier defecting to the enemy. More critically, the RDA's plans face fewer complications and likely accelerate dramatically. With no Jake to delay military operations or gather conflicting intelligence, Colonel Quaritch launches his assault on Tree weeks or even months earlier than in the original timeline. The destruction arrives swift and merciless, with no insider warnings to help the Omaticaya evacuate. Etukan's death might come alongside hundreds more Na'vi casualties, who, in the original timeline, had precious time to escape because of Jake's desperate attempts to warn them. Here's where the loss becomes catastrophic. Without Jake, there is no Toruk Makto, the legendary rider of the Last Shadow, the unifying symbol who could rally the scattered clans of Pandora, never emerges. Jake's bold claim of the Great Leonopteryx was more than personal heroism. It was the spiritual and political catalyst that transformed fragmented tribes into a united resistance force. Without this legendary figure, the clans face the RDA onslaught alone. The Omaticaya destroyed, the horse clans of the plains isolated, the Eastern Sea clans unaware of the growing threat. They fight as separate entities against a coordinated corporate military force. Skirmishes replace organized resistance, and Pandora faces not a decisive battle, but a slow, grinding conquest that the RDA ultimately wins through superior technology and unified command. And here's where it gets deeper. Neytiri's rescue isn't just about Jake. It's about whose story Avatar is allowed to tell. Many critics argued the film fell into a white savior narrative, echoing Pocahontas and Dances with Wolves. The outsider becomes more Na'vi than the Na'vi and leads them to victory. Some scholars even asked why center Jake at all, instead of telling the Na'vi's struggle through Neytiri's eyes. If Neytiri never saved Jake, that critique vanishes. Pandora's story would be fully theirs. Neytiri, Moat, Sute, and the Na'vi people resisting colonization on their own terms. Without Jake, Neytiri becomes the unquestioned protagonist, but also bears the full weight of her people's survival on her shoulders. Her character arc transforms completely. She avoids the emotional entanglement that challenged her duty to marry Sute, but at the cost of becoming hardened by grief, guilt, and the haunting memory of Eywa's signs surrounding the stranger she chose not to save. There's also the question of Eywa. The movie itself hints at destiny, the seeds of the sacred tree surrounding Jake during his first meeting with Neytiri, almost as if Eywa marked him. Some fans even theorize Eywa orchestrated Jake's chase into Neytiri's path, sending the Thanator to drive him toward her. If that's true, Neytiri refusing to save him would mean resisting Eywa's will, creating a fracture between personal choice and planetary consciousness. But other fans argue Jake was never truly chosen. Toruk didn't single him out, he claimed it. This makes Neytiri's decision even more central. Jake wasn't destined, he was alive only because she decided he should be. She gave him, not Eywa, the chance to become more. Without her compassion, even divine guidance becomes meaningless. Without Jake, the human invasion likely succeeds completely. The RDA harvests Pandora's unobtainium reserves without mercy or sustainable practices, strip mining sacred sites for resources. Pandora's delicate ecosystems collapse under industrial exploitation. The neural network connecting all life on the planet, Eywa's living consciousness faces systematic destruction. Humanity learns nothing from this encounter. Earth gains a few more decades of survival by consuming another world, but the cultural dialogue, the clash of exploitation Determination versus balance, domination versus reverence dies with Jake in the forest. The spiritual dimension of Avatar's story never unfolds, and with it, any hope of learning sustainable harmony between civilization and nature. Outside the story, the impact shifts too. One of the reasons Avatar became a global phenomenon was the emotional pull of Jake and Neytiri's romance. Audiences longed for Pandora so intensely, some reported post-Avatar depression when returning to real life. Without Neytiri saving Jake, the film loses that transformative hook, leaving a harsher narrative: resistance crushed, nature silenced, and no bridge between species. So what if Neytiri never saved Jake? Pandora likely falls, the Na'vi vanish, and the world loses not just a love story, but the very possibility of connection across cultures. More importantly, we're reminded that the most pivotal moment in Cameron's billion-dollar epic isn't a battle scene or a prophecy. It's Neytiri's decision to extend compassion where instinct told her not to. Her choice shows us how one act, especially from a woman whose instincts blend strength with empathy, can alter the course of history. This is Ladies First, watching women in movies. Here we empower women by reviewing and discussing films that highlight their stories, struggles, and achievements. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.